let's go through a list of things that I think the majority of people wish never existed. These are things like the Juicero Wi-Fi Juicer, the Wii Mini, Popeye's Restaurants, Logan Paul's Career, Mega Man Soccer, and on the topic of Mega Man, all of the Mega Man X games after Mega Man X5. Quickly recapping the Mega Man X series, X1 was fantastic and built upon everything that the classic Mega Man series established. It gave it a darker tone and faster, mildly more complex gameplay. And this was further built on Mega Man X2, which, though not as good as the first, is an absolutely phenomenal platformer. And as for Mega Man X3, yeah, you can skip that one. Mega Man X4 and X5 though, these two hold a special place in my heart. Admittedly, X4 more than X5, with X4 debatably having the fastest, most speedrunnable experience in the series, especially with the fully realized playable introduction of Mega Man X's long-haired, boob-lighted buddy, Zero. X5, in retrospect, is not really what I'd call a good game, though it did have some incredible ideas, including multiple different armors for Mega Man X himself, along with multiple different endings, the best of which was locked behind RNG. Yikes.
Okay, no, let me put in here for a second. Okay, first off, hi, I'm Travis. I'm also known as that Trav guy. I'm a YouTuber, and I swear I'm one of the 2 people out there that actually likes Mega Man X5. It was the first Mega Man game I ever owned. I did a 40-minute video breakdown of why I love that video game so freaking much. But unfortunately, that is not the game that I was brought here to talk about today. No, we're gonna be talking about its sequel, a game that I feel never should have been made, Mega Man X6.
Now, Mega Man series head Keiji Inafune had intended for Mega Man X5 to be the final game in the X series, but Mega Man X was a cash cow for developer Capcom, so they defied his wishes and, less than a year later, we got Mega Man X6, a game that has gone down in infamy with some Mega Man fans calling it the worst game in the entire series, though admittedly others say that it actually isn't that bad, just kind of a slap in the face to Inafune. Now, I should mention, I don't fall into either of these camps. If we're talking about the game that I think is the worst platformer in the Mega Man series, I think that's Mega Man based in the GBA. And also though, I don't feel like a Mega Man game needs Inafune to be good. I know that because the fan-made Mega Man Unlimited is incredible, which is a truly wonderful fan-made Mega Man game. With that said though, when this game was launched, I can see why some would be upset with Inafune not really having much involvement with it. After all, at that point, he'd had his hands on pretty much every single title in the series up to that point. Also, for those wondering, the following Mega Man X7 is much, much worse than X6 in my opinion. Though the final X game, Mega Man X8, was actually a nice return to form for the series. It's really good, you should check it out. Now, there's no denying that Mega Man X6 is a very, very flawed game. We'll be talking about that today. In fact, looking at it as critically as possible, it's not good. But also, Mega Man X6 is one of the few games I'd ever consider speedrunning, and I do find myself coming back to it every few months. There's really something gripping about it, and I'll admit, yeah, it's not great, but I do actually really enjoy it.
I feel much the same way. X6 is really fun if you decide to skip everything and just speedrun through it. So today on Stuff We Play, we're going to be focusing on giving Mega Man X6 less of a traditional review and more so showing how we can have a ton of fun with this game.
So welcome to Stuff We Play, home of everything weird and retro. If that sounds cool to you, why not subscribe? And today, we're going back to the distant year of 2001.
Mega Man X6. God, where do we even start with this thing? I mean, despite how critically panned it was, it's pretty easy to get your hands on today. Along with the original PS1 release, it's also been re-released on the PS3, the PSP via the PlayStation Network, the Mega Man X Collection for PS2 and GameCube, and most recently, the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 for modern consoles. That's how we're going to be looking at it today.
Jumping right into it, I think we need to address the story here. Mega Man X5 had multiple different endings, with the major difference being whether or not Zero gets killed, and if the Earth gets sent into what's basically a nuclear winter thanks to having a space colony crashed into it. Mega Man X6 decides to combine the best and worst endings from Mega Man X5, meaning that X and Zero successfully stopped the space colony at the end of X5, but debris from it still rained down on the Earth, forcing human civilization to move underground with robots such as Mega Man X left to clean up the damage on the surface and make it livable again.
Perhaps most importantly for the plot here, Zero is presumed dead. He's gone. He got lasered right through the chest. He's not here anymore. As a result, Mega Man stole his lightsaber. He's got this cool lightsaber attack if you press triangle, which is slower than Zero's saber, but it's pretty nice. Also, story-wise, the plot revolves around Gate, a mad scientist Reploid who apparently has the hots for X's navigator Aelia as he finds a piece of Zero's robotic DNA amidst the rubble of the Earth's surface from the crashed Eurasia colony. And it drives him absolutely mad with power. So X must go against these 8 new bosses who aren't even Maverick in order to reach Gate, our main antagonist, when at the very end they pull the rug out from under you and reveal that he was trying to bring back Sigma this whole time. Because of course it's Sigma. They always gotta bring back Sigma. Why can't we have a game without Sigma? Oh wait, we did and no one played it.
Other notable characters here include Hi Max, who's an asshole, and Isaac, who's heavily hinted at being classic series big bad Dr. Wily, who by the way was also Zero's original creator. Nothing is ever really done with this plot thread.
Also, spoiler alert, Zero wasn't actually dead. Defeating Nightmare Zero in any of the stage's alternate paths will lead you to unlocking the ability to play as Zero, who apparently just hid himself to repair himself after X5. Now, okay, Zero got rebuilt in X2. It's not too far-fetched that he was rebuilt, but rebuilt himself? I'm gonna stop ranting about that because that's not what this video is about. It's also implied that maybe the Dr. Light hologram from X's Armor's capsules fixed Zero. I mean, that would make sense with X5's ending, but because at this point the series is like, no, this isn't a recording, this is an AI, but then they go back to it a few games later, and I don't like this story.
Don't worry about him, I think he's gonna be okay. Moving on, X6 has a few major gimmicks that set it apart from previous games. Each stage has an alternate path, accessed through these blue crystals. Each alternate path has a secret boss, with these in order being Nightmare Zero, Hi Max, and Dynamo from Mega Man X5, who's just kind of there, he doesn't really do anything. There are also Reploids to rescue, which may contain items for you to upgrade yourself with. And trust me, if you want to get all of X's armor pieces, you need these upgrade parts. But also, there are these assholes called the Nightmares, which along with containing Nightmare Souls, which are these blue orbs that barely do anything except unlock a cutscene after you've collected a few thousand of them, they can also potentially corrupt rescuable Reploids. And I mean permanently corrupt them. Like, if one of these gets to a Reploid, then congrats, there's no saving them, there's no going back. If one of these gets to a Reploid that had a part you need and corrupts them, then you're out of luck for the rest of your playthrough, unless you reset and reload an old save file.
X6 also has one of the most annoying mechanics in the entire series, the Nightmare system. Yeah, clearly while developing this game, Nightmare was the word of the day at the Capcom offices. Do you remember in Mega Man X1 where there was that mechanic where if you defeat a certain boss, it would affect how another stage operates? Like if you defeat Chill Penguin, that would cause the Lava and Flame Mammoth stage to freeze over. A really cool mechanic that the series never was able to replicate again. But they tried again in X6, and it did not work out well. It doesn't work exactly the same. Some stages have effects that are triggered by going into a stage beforehand, regardless if you've beat the boss, but only by going into the stage beforehand. These changes are not permanent, and they're kind of cryptic. For example, the crystal leading into the alternate path of Blizzard Wolfang's stage. It can only be accessed by going to Blaze Heatnix's stage beforehand, which somehow will cause this wall to disappear.
And of course, some nightmare effects just happen seemingly at random, though you can usually tell if a stage will be affected or not if its selection icon turns red. But even then, some stages can have multiple variants of the nightmare effects, which combined with very random, sometimes erratic seeming stage design, can lead to a disappointing experience that's just based off of RNG. The worst of the nightmare effects is the stage darkening thing that can happen in Commander Yanmark and Rainy Turtleoid stages. I guess X and Zero forgot to bring a Pokemon that could learn Flash.
The stage design is what's truly terrible here. There's so many bottomless pits, finicky jumps, leaps of faith over instant death spikes, and bosses like Hymax that let you access the fortress early on, but are literally impossible to beat without special weapons. The worst of these is probably Blaze Heatnix's stage, which along with making you fight the same goddamn red donut mini-boss more times than I can count, also can't decide if this lava here is instant kill or not. This horrid design isn't limited to this stage though. Overall, the difficulty is all over the place here, most notably with the first few gate lab stages being filled to the brim with instant death spikes. But the final battle between Sigma is an absolute joke. Also, never try playing these stages as base X. You start the game with X's Falcon armor from X5 and the game flat out requires its air dash in certain areas. Normal X cannot air dash. They didn't playtest this at all.
At the very least though, the presentation here is great. The graphics are just beautiful, and thanks to the sprite-based nature of the game, it's honestly aged a lot better visually than the vast majority of PS1 games. Plus, the soundtrack here is arguably the best in the entire Mega Man X series, with my personal favorite track being that hard-rocking boss theme.
Even if you have no interest in Mega Man X6, which I don't blame you for, definitely give the soundtrack a shot. The opening stage theme, for example, just that intimidating, grandiose theme paired with the apocalyptic aesthetic of the opening stage, which might I add, has probably the best level design of the entire game, really leads into X6 having one of the strongest opening stages in the entire series. Even the opening J-pop theme is fantastic in my opinion. We could go on forever about X6's flaws. The story is so poorly translated, the cutscenes are all voice acted, which isn't bad, but it's all in Japanese, so I can't understand it. The level design is all over the place, with stages such as Ground Scarevich's museum being based entirely around RNG. And really, some of these bosses and stages have gimmicks to them that first-time players would likely never figure out without outside help. But at the same time, though X6's design is garbage, the gameplay is actually pretty tight.
What we're getting at is Mega Man X6, as mentioned before, is a bit of a mess. It's filled with translation errors and exploitable bugs and just new mechanics that just don't work well. But also the gameplay itself at its core is pretty tight. So with that, we are now proud to present to you how to make Mega Man X6 fun in 3 easy steps. Step 1. Input the super secret code using your controller of choice at the title screen. The code is as follows: L1, 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 R2. And for those wondering, my controller of choice here is the incredible Pokken Tournament controller for the Nintendo Switch.
As soon as you've inputted that code, you'll hear a reassuring chime confirming that you've put it in correctly, and it's time for the fun to begin. Now you may be tempted to watch the cutscenes and read the dialogue and whatnot, but trust me, it is not worth your time. The story is just downright nonsensical. It's ass. It can't decide where it wants to fit in the Mega Man timeline, so for step 2, you're gonna tell the story to go fuck itself. Seriously, fuck it. You'll have a much more enjoyable experience.
And of course, if you're feeling overwhelmed and are playing on the Mega Man X Legacy Collection too, there's no shame in turning on the Rookie Hunter mode, especially if you're new to this style of platformer. Step 3 is the most complex of these steps. Unlock Zero. See, Zero here inherently is just better than X. Zero is more agile, and even though X does come in 4 different flavors, his double jump is way too useful for dodging BS stage hazards. Plus, his Z-Buster, which is essentially just a frickin' laser shotgun, tears through most bosses. Besides, we've already gone through the trouble of using the Black Armor Zero code instead of the Ultimate Armor X code.
Initially getting Zero seems easier said than done. If you're unfamiliar with the game, you may foolhardily run into an old stage's alternate path to try to find Nightmare Zero, assuming that you even know where the alternate path is to begin with. But that's why we've set up a route for unlocking Zero that's relatively painless and can be done without acquiring any boss weapons.
So first, go to Infinity Maginian stage. This may seem annoying at first, what with its weird remix of the Final Countdown playing in the background, and this giant robot that keeps firing lasers at you, but with enough careful dashing and abuse of X's Z-Saber on the mini-bosses, within a couple of minutes, you'll be in the alternate path. Side note, just going a couple of feet to the left in the alternate path will grant you a Dr. Light capsule, which I'm sure will please you completionists out there, even if we're not going for 100% completion on our run.
From here, go to the incredibly short alternate path and fight Nightmare Zero, who poetically is weak to X's Z-Saber. And after that, you get Zero. Congrats! He built himself, repaired it. Fuck, how does the saying go again? I hid myself to repair myself. Alright, fuck off, X. You're not gonna be seeing any playtime for the rest of this.
Playing as Black Armor Zero here is an absolute blast, especially if you let yourself get a little bit reckless. Getting parts such as the Speedster from Ground Scaravich's stage or the Jumper from Blizzard Wolfang's stage will further amp up Zero's abilities, and learning to abuse dashing and Z-Saber combos means that you can more or less break the game in half at many sections.
Perhaps one of my favorite tricks with Zero can be done with attacking these platforms that appear in Commander Yamark's stage. If you use the down special you got from Rainy Turtleoid, you glitch through them and become invincible. Why this happens? I have no idea. This game is so poorly programmed, but it makes you invincible until you reach the boss.
And that's not the only glitch like that here, since a similar effect can be had by killing yourself into these platforms that appear both in Rainy Turtleoid's stage and the Gates Lab stages.
There's also this really bizarre property with the weapon you get from Shield Sheldon. Having it out with Zero, for some reason, makes him do damage every frame that it's out, turning a weapon that normally does damage on 3 inputs deal damage once every 60th of a second. This weapon causes Zero to just shred through everything. I have no idea why this happens, but it makes tearing through the game as Zero all the more satisfying.
For some reason though, this feels easier to pull off in early releases of the game than the X Legacy Collection version.
The game from here on is mostly evened out, even with the unpredictable, often nonsensical level design. It may be all over the place, but Zero, especially with his black armor, is more than equipped to handle it. The thing that still poses a threat here are the Crushers and Metal Shark player stage. Oh God, Metal Shark player stage. These things are so finicky. Even if you let go of the crouch button, which normally would save you in every video game ever, like Mario World, if you uncrouch and one of these is taking up space, you're gonna die. Also, fuck the Nightmare Mother in Gate Stage 1. It's like they saw the Yellow Devil from the classic series and thought, how could we make this more annoying? But none of this compares to Gate himself. Oh my gosh, I can't stand this guy! He isn't difficult so much as he is just insufferably slow. Seriously, you can only get a hit on this guy by launching his own attack back at him. Sure, with enough patience he goes down pretty easily, but if you're unlucky you can get stuck for several minutes with this guy on loop doing absolutely nothing.
But aside from that, congratulations! You've made Mega Man X6 bow before you. I mean seriously, just look at how well you can tear up these bosses. I beat Sigma's first form just by standing in a corner and blasting him with Zero's shotgun. It's ridiculous, but also I don't think the game's difficulty is completely destroyed through this 3-step method. Rather, it's brought down to a much more reasonable level, around the same place as you'd expect in any other Mega Man game. But also, do keep in mind that the only reason we're speeding through this game like this is because we've probably played it more times than is likely healthy. Plus, it probably helps that we don't have to wrap our minds around that pesky plot anymore.
So to recap, that 3-step plan is: Step 1. Input the Black Armor Zero code. Step 2. Tell the plot to go fuck itself. And Step 3. Unlock Zero and play primarily as Zero. While there's no denying that X6 is terrible, it has some good buried deep within it that we found a great way to have a good time with. We might not be playing it the way that it's intended to be played, but with making our own rules, it's not the worst.
Of course, you may think we're just wasting our time with this game, and if that's the case, then let us know down in the comment section below. Or if you really love this game, because I know there are people who do love it, also let us know in the comment section below. Or, you know, if you've never played Mega Man X6 but are now morbidly curious, also let us know in the comment section below. But regardless, wherever you fall, while you're at it, subscribe to me here at Stuff We Play for more great content like this, or even subscribe to Trav. He makes some really incredible content, especially if you love Mega Man X stuff.
Alright, I'm gonna go off script here for this whole YouTube plugging bit thing. Hi, my name is Travis. I do video game reviews over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/thattravguy. At the moment of this video, I'm actually marathoning all of the Doom games in preparation for Doom Eternal coming out this November, but I will be returning to Mega Man hopefully soon and early next year. I'm still kind of new and trying to find an identity for myself, but if you liked my appearance here on this channel, you might like my content, so hey, if you want to go check me out, it would really mean a lot to me.
Now, this video here today was a very unconventional look at a much maligned game, but also, as many of you know, I'm moving away from more traditional reviews. I'm really focusing more on buying guides, documentaries, even some restoration videos I have coming soon, and of course, weird look-ats at weird bits of gaming history like this today. That said though, I do have one more traditional style video game review coming, And that's going to be a look at a Sonic game that I promise you is going to be the Sonic review to end all Sonic reviews on YouTube. That said, I also have another documentary coming soon along with other stuff, so subscribe and stay tuned. Or if you feel so inclined, back me on Patreon, maybe get to see some stuff early. So before I shamelessly promote myself more and go on about stuff I have in the works instead of actually working on it, thank you very much for watching. Stay classy, and with that, I'll see you next time.